Well, the brigade was formed in the summer of 1997 to deliver our delicious mischief to Charles Hurwitz, the CEO of Maxam Corporation, parent company of Pacific Lumber, which is cutting down the Headwaters forest. Since then, it's grown into a network, and we understand that there is a vast number of militant bakers, both here in the city as well as up north in the Headwaters forest. I couldn't estimate numbers, but we understand that there are many people who feel like there are many folks who need their just desserts, and we know how to dish it up.
But I would add to that that the only thing that's necessary to be a member of the Biotic Baking Brigade is a pie and a vision of a better world.
It's also an act of violence. Someone is hurt. The mayor's limping. People are upset. There's melee after the incidents. And also the police chief of San Francisco is threatening to prosecute.
Well, first of all, I've read in the paper now that he first had a bruise in his stomach, then his knee, now his ankle. He made 20 public appearances that day. I have some doubts about this alleged injury. Furthermore, you know, a great many people found it terribly funny, and also it's an unusual approach that we take, and we think it's quite effective, actually.
The difference in reaction between the people on the street and the people in the halls of power has been extreme.
There's no misdemeanor. It is a felony. And I hope that we will stop the laughing now. The fun is over. The joke should stop.
Particularly in the situation with the pieing of Willie Brown in San Francisco, it's really clarified a lot of those class issues. Is when you have people saying, you know, this is terrible, this is a crisis of incivility, I think is what Amos Brown said, you know, and just blowing this up into a huge thing, but all the people who are treating this like it's a great crisis, like a very, very serious issue, are the people in power, are people who, you know, who have influence and who have a lot to lose if people no longer respect that influence. But on the other hand, the people who are living on the streets or living a paycheck away from the streets, they're laughing their asses off.
And who knows what was in that attaché case? Right there to the podium. Laid it down with the pies in it. It should never be the case that persons would be permitted to get that close to our mayor in public functions such as was on Saturday. Mayor Brown could have fallen back, and the fall would not have been broken, and he could have suffered a brain concussion.
This is a serious matter. We're talking about high crimes and misdemeanors.
Monday, between sessions in court, they were back on the street. Was it worth it?
Well, it's hard to put it in terms like that. Obviously, I didn't expect anything like broken bones as a result of pieing.
Rahula Janowski claims a friend of the mayor broke her shoulder after she tossed her pie.
Where is the justice when Garland Rosario grabs a woman, puts his knee in her back, I'm referring to Rahula Janowski, reaches up under her arms and pulls her back? That's a kill move.
So basically the bottom line in San Francisco is if you're wearing a uniform, a police uniform, or if you're wearing a suit and you work in City Hall, you can commit crimes against homeless people, poor people, and people of color. And you will not be prosecuted, you will not be jailed. Whereas if you are a political activist and you serve free food to hungry people like in Food Not Bombs, or throw a pie in somebody's face who can't take a joke, you're actually beaten, you're actually arrested, you're incarcerated, and you're forced to go to trial.
Your reaction to the sentence?
I'm shocked and rather appalled, although unfortunately not necessarily completely surprised given what we faced here. 6 months says that this is the absolute, positively worst battery that could ever happen. It's way disproportionate, completely disproportionate to what is appropriate in this case.
The point is not like, you know, us being on trial necessarily for throwing a pie. The point is, you know, there are a lot of people dying on the streets of the city and it needs to be dealt with.
For sentencing, but they said today, don't be surprised if we see more pie-throwing incidents at public officials. In fact, as one member of the Biotic Baking Brigade said today, there is a pastry uprising going on, not just in this country, but all around the world. One live in San Francisco.
Well, they
are at it again. The group of activists who pied Mayor Willie Brown attacked Chevron's CEO outside a San Francisco school today. And members of the Biotic Baking Brigade videotaped the attack at Galileo High. These are their pictures. So what is behind this very public campaign? ABC 7's Don Sanchez joins us from the scene of today's attack with the story. Don?
Well, okay, as you said, indeed, it's the Biotic Brigade once again, and the pie throwers were videotaping at Galileo High School here in the marina. This time the target, the Chevron CEO, Kenneth Durr. Durr was here to give a speech, actually. He was going to give a speech when he was pelted by 4 pie-wielding activists. They claim they were targeting him for what they say is Chevron's alleged involvement in the murders of rebels in Nigeria. The pie throwers that ran away, Durr went on inside. School officials say the pie throwers were not students, and I can confirm they are part of that same group that pied Mayor Willie Brown. I talked to one of the pie throwers.
As long as our political and corporate leaders are willing to lie, we are willing to pie.
My friend Joe Alberti, he said, hey, man, he said, those guys throwing pies. And I looked around, I seen pie all over the execs, pumpkin pie and blueberry pie. And then the guys took off running, and it was 2 cameramen with them. So it was like it was a big setup, you know. I said, man, look at all that good pie.
All 4 of them are being sought on battery charges. The 3rd member of the Biotic Baking Brigade who pied Mayor Willie Brown went to jail today. All 3 of them serving 6 months. But they tell me, Salmonberry tells me, Agent Salmonberry, that that's not going to deter any of the activists. In fact, they're going to spread their pie throwing worldwide. Live in San Francisco, Don Sanchez, ABC 7 News.
Our next caller, I think, is one of your colleagues, Al Decker. It's a man who calls himself Agent Warcry. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
A woman, excuse me, named Agent Warcry.
That's correct. I am a woman. You know, Foucault said, disturb the spectacle. And I'd just like to say about Milton Friedman, one of the people we pied. He was one of Reagan's closest economic advisors, and those top-down neoliberal approaches have resulted in a great deal of misery and decimation of people's lives, especially in the 80s. Milton Friedman was also one of Pinochet's advisors in his administration on economic policies, and Pinochet, as you know, is a mass murderer. Where is the accountability in that? Where is the accountability when Charles Hurwitz rapes the ancient pristine forests of Northern California and the state rewards him for it? Wealth has perverted our political process and our society, let's face it, and the media has failed to do its job, and we're forced to resort to these tactics to have any voice, whatever, on these critical issues. And this is the first thing that's eased my sense of despair at the futility of social activism, which is so often just dismissed and ignored.
Well, you got your voice in this morning, and I'm glad you did. I thank you for the call. Let me get Robert's.
What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers. What's that sailing through the air in the boardroom? See them shiver. You can spend your life hoping for pie in the sky, but the baking brigade delivers.
They pied Willie Brown? Excellent!
What?
They pied Willie Brown. I haven't seen that since Wavy Gravy got Humphrey.